Hello and welcome to my channel. This is going to be the second video series of the Real Life 13 Ghosts. In the movie 13 Ghosts, the story behind the torso goes something like this. The torso was a man named Jimmy Gambino. His nickname was the Gambler because he was obsessed with gambling. He would spend his days at the track and his nights gambling in bars. Eventually, Jimmy opened up his own booking business. Because of his compulsive gambling, he was barely able to make his payoffs. Jimmy had a reputation for not being able to refuse a bet. One day, a mobster named Larry Vitello approached Jimmy to bet on a boxing match. Jimmy agreed to the wager. His fighter lost, and he fainted. When he awoke, Larry and his gang tried to collect the money Jimmy owed him. But Jimmy was cleaned out, so Larry and his gang cut Jimmy's body up, wrapped the pieces in cellophane, and dumped them in the ocean. Jimmy's cellophane-wrapped torso and dismembered head became the second ghost featured in the Black Zodiac. I wasn't too sure what to expect when I started looking for a real-life torso. The perfect fit to the story would obviously include a man who was eventually chopped into pieces. But to fit this specific story, I wanted to find someone who died because of a gambling problem. I found the real-life torso case when I came across the gruesome story of Danny Grillo. The events that would seal Danny Grillo's fate would start with the story of a man named Roy DeMeo. Roy DeMeo was a gang member affiliated with the Gambino family. Eventually, DeMeo became a soldier for the Gambino crime family and became a leader of his own side gang that was called the DeMeo Crew. The DeMeo Crew was a group of thugs who were involved in an international auto theft ring, narcotics trafficking, contract killings, among other crimes. One of these crew members was named Danny Grillo. Edward Danny Grillo was born in 1934 in Little Italy, Manhattan. Grillo was recruited by DeMeo in 1976. By 1978, Grillo was in very deep trouble. Grillo suffered from gambling and cocaine addiction. He was heavily in debt to DeMeo. In order to avoid missing a payment to DeMeo, Grillo would borrow money from loan sharks, which bought himself some time, but only furthered his debt problems. DeMeo warned Grillo that he had to pay his debts, but digging himself deeper and deeper in debt, gambling, and drugs, eventually the hole Grillo was in was too deep for him to get out. With DeMeo and the Gambino family upset with Grillo, a meeting took place. In this meeting, Anthony Gaggi and DeMeo agreed that Grillo had to go. The Gambino family had a common hangout called the Gemini Club. It's here where Grillo was summoned and never heard from again. It's said that his wife found his wallet and jewelry in his dresser. Apparently, he had left his belongings there because he knew what his summon to the Gemini Club meant. The Gemini Method. On November 14, 1978, Grillo received a call from DeMeo requesting him to come into a meeting at the Gemini lounge. Grillo took special care to say goodbye to his children and wife. After saying his goodbyes, Grillo voluntarily went to the meeting, knowing his fate. The Gemini method was a method of killing people that members of the crew knew all too well. Grillo knew that the Gemini method was most likely going to be the method used to carry out his murder. Like so many others, Grillo was brought into the club through a side door and taken to a back room. Once in the room, a crew member would use a silenced pistol to shoot Grillo in the head. His head was then wrapped in a towel to keep the blood from spreading. Another member would have then stabbed Grillo in the heart to stop the blood flow to the gunshot wound. After he was stabbed in the heart, the crew members would have dragged Grillo's corpse to the bathtub so they could drain the rest of his blood from his body. After Grillo was bled dry, his body was chopped up into pieces. The pieces were wrapped into bags, placed in boxes, and scattered around the garbage dump site. This method of killing was used frequently and a well-known method among the DeMeo crew to make victims disappear. In 13 Ghosts' version of the Black Zodiac, the torso corresponds with the dark side of the Taurus zodiac. According to the Black Zodiac lore, Taurus is quite materialistic. They are possessive and not interested in sharing. They invest in superficial things. They face failures in their life despite being powerful. Taurus tries to do good, but oftentimes situations turn out worse for them. Jimmy and Danny both had an obsession with money. As they tried to pull themselves out of debt, they would fall deeper in until their debts became the reason for their murders. Ultimately, the motives for Jimmy and Danny's murder, along with the way their bodies were disposed of, is why Danny's story fits the real-life crime story of the fictional story of the torso so well. I find it interesting that Jimmy's last name was Gambino. Maybe this was an ominous way to tie Jimmy's method of murder to the infamous Gemini method. Maybe that's where the story's inspiration came from. Thank you for watching. It's kind of weird doing this with my own voice, but I don't know, hopefully it's better this way, so yeah, like and subscribe. Please comment. I would like any information to make better videos, I guess. Any criticism you have would be awesome. Thank you. Bye.